DC for years, and we were both kind of like, I'm done
over it
with this city.
Well, we're releasing Washington, D.C.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you need contacts up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
You have to meet my friend Deborah. You guys will
love to.
love her. She used to be, okay, give me just a second. She used to be a reporter at my station. I was a reporter at the CBS station up there, and she was with me. And now she runs like a consulting, like empowerment, life coach business, and she is just like, if you ever like having a bad day, I'll just like talk to Deborah, and I'll automatically feel like I'm gonna conquer this world.
Yes.
Because Deborah Alfarone says, but she's got a great story
weird
too.
because I was literally thinking that on the way over here. Like after I went to my counselor yesterday, I was like, that's the place you need. It's just a place where women can come in and do that. It's not like necessarily therapy, but it's just like that
just
sort of environment.
Together.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
well,
cool.
after we leave here, I'll connect you guys. Okay, you ready to go?
Sure.
Okay, before we start, just say and spell your first and last name, and then you.
So it's Brooke Tometich, Brooke with an E, and then Tometich.
Okay.
And I'm Mattie, M-A-T-T-I-E, Selecman, S-E-L-E-C-M-A-N.
You got to think about that.
All right. So, Mattie and Brooke, I guess first tell me your backgrounds, how you became friends, your stories.
Yeah, so kind of our backgrounds really tie into this whole brand. So I'm born and raised from Nashville, so is she, super rare. And the only time I've ever left is when I went to UT, go Vols. And I actually ended up coming home 2 years in because I miss Nashville so much. And there wasn't a music row in Knoxville, as great as it is. So I have a music business degree. I've wanted to be a hairstylist my entire life. Went straight to hair school, and that's where my love for women and hearing their stories really began. So I just started having all of these clients. They became my best friends. I'd come home and my husband would be like, you've been gone for 14 hours and you've lost money. And I'm like, but Becky's husband left her, and you know, Deborah's son's in trouble. So it really wasn't a business for me. It was more of a ministry. Because you know, when you sit down with your hairstylist, you're telling them everything that's ever happened. Everything. So my husband's like, okay, well, why don't you go get your counseling degree? So, meanwhile, one of my clients landed this marketing job in my lap, and I loved it. It was so fun. I've been in now 6 years with this marketing company, and I run a team of over 20,000 people, mostly women. And again, even more than the products, it's the stories, it's the people I'm meeting, and I am just in love with everybody that I work with. And through that, we decided to adopt. So that absolutely wrecked our lives in the most beautiful way possible. We didn't know a ton about adoption, but we knew that we always wanted just, you know, to complete our family that way. And so we got really close with our birth mom. It was a very hard adoption. A lot of people don't know what goes into it, but we had her from the day she was born, and about 6 months in, just how broken the system is, we almost lost her. And so you can't live life again the same once you've almost lost the child you've raised from the time they were born. So through being close with our birth mom, who was only 17, I just knew that that's kind of where girls decided what kind of woman they wanted to be, is when they were around 16. So I just fell in love with that age range. So I started working with 16 and 17-year-olds at our church. And so hearing their stories and just doing life with them, it started becoming a ministry to their moms too. And so every single day I was waking up and I had these quadrants I was living my life through, and I had beauty and hair, which was so fun, but then I had the marketing world, but then I had my teens, and then I had adoption. And I just kept thinking, if I had a way to just combine all of those, life would just be perfect. It'd be complete. I wouldn't feel like I was giving 1/4 of myself to each of these. And so I started just racking my brain for what could make all of these things collide. And the word that kept on being placed on my heart was she. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what to do with it. But everybody that meets me from all over the country that I've met, they say, you are so Nashville. And I'm like, you know what? That's a compliment. I love Nashville. So the word NaSHEville was born in my brain. And what do you do with a word like that? I didn't know what that meant. So I went and met with somebody who owns a manufacturing company, and he was like, you know what? This is amazing, but you've got to start a blog. And the second he said that, in like so not a dramatic fashion, of course, I was like, all of my dreams and hopes are gone, because I'm not a writer. I'm like, that's gonna feel like writing a book report every day. This is done. So I called my best friend, and she's like, Mattie is a writer, Brooke, and she's actually going through a lot of life changes. Why don't you call her? And so I called her. We hadn't talked in a while. And this is where she enters the story.
Yeah, so Brooke called me this summer, and as I kind of mentioned before, I am a Nashville native too. So grew up here, closely in and around the music industry, and went to UT, which I think she maybe plugged too, go Vols. And I fell in love with writing. I have a creative writing degree. They actually have a really awesome program there, which a lot of people don't know. And when I graduated, my dad said, you know, you have a gift, but you're 22 and you're a kid. Like, go live your life and figure out what's on your heart to write about. It's actually, in retrospect, very good advice. Yeah. So I moved to Austin, like any, you know, rational 22-year-old would do, and just started bartending and having fun and living life. And so in that whole process, I was writing, but I just fell in love with wine. I mean, not a hard thing to fall in love with. But I was working in a steakhouse, and so there's a lot of exposure there, and I just loved everything about it. Like, I am as nerdy as you can get, like, and there was science and art and history and culture and everything in this one little kind of mystic bottle that also happens to taste great. It makes you feel good. And so the last kind of 6 or 7 years of my life have been in that space and in food and wine. And I actually opened and ran my own restaurant in West Nashville for about 2 years. 2016 to this past June, we shut the doors. And that, not to any degree of what Brooke went through kind of in her paralysis and then rebirth in her faith through adoption, but that's a big thing to launch, put your whole heart into for 2 years, and then decide and just hear and decide, like, this isn't gonna be my whole life, and like I have to make a hard right turn, and I didn't even really know why, because it was great and people loved it and it was such a fun season, and I just knew that it was time to really put that gift to use. You know, I was doing some wine writing, I was teaching wine classes, and I just felt this constant urge, like, you are meant to write and teach so much more, like, this is the end of this chapter. And so with a lot of sort of criticism and pushback, shut that down, not really knowing what the next thing was, but I knew that I needed to get back into the Word so that I could build my muscles to write. And, you know, I had an almost all female staff at the restaurant, and I just was in this environment where I could feel the atmosphere and the landscape for women really working together and not necessarily fighting with each other to be, you know, heads of businesses or executive chefs or whatever. And I just felt this sort of climate building of, okay, I really need to work and write to encourage and empower women. And I didn't really know what that looked like, and that really broke and tested my faith in a way that now, in retrospect, was boot camp for the biggest tragedy in my life, which is now the greatest platform for NaSHEville. But Brooke called me, and I met with her, and, you know, I really was like, gosh, I just retired from this first job, and like the last thing I want to do is start a new startup business, but I'll meet with her. And so she tells me and she pours out her heart, and I'm like, this is exactly the platform that I need to go where I feel like I'm needing to go. And so I hopped on board. I mean, I've never seen clearer neon lights from the Lord, like, drop everything. This is your step. This is your place. So I said, okay, I don't know why. I've never adopted a child. I don't yet have children, like, but I'm here. Like, I want to be a voice for these women and the people you want to help. And so we sort of started fleshing out some more things about our missions. And, you know, we went back to scripture. We're both strong in our faith. And it's just everywhere that you see orphans, which obviously was on Brooke's heart, you see take care of orphans and widows. And so we said, okay, well, God says it's good enough for me. That'll be our mission. And then we ended up also integrating human trafficking and trafficked women as our third sort of part of our ministry, because one, it's a tremendous problem in Nashville, and it's just, it's prevalent, and it's heartbreaking because no one really knows, because the education is just uncomfortable. And so anyway, my husband was a prosecuting attorney, and he worked very hands-on with the trafficked victims to get them safe in programs and out of prison, and just really keep them from going back into that environment, and had this huge heart for it. So we then partnered with the DA's office, and they put us in touch with In Slavery, Tennessee, and some of the programs that rehabilitate and counsel the women and get them back on their feet. So all that to say, this is July, and we've lined up all these three core ministries that we want to educate on and give back to financially, and we're all ready to go. And then my husband dies of a traumatic brain injury in September, and it was like, it's a story you don't even want to write, but it doesn't seem real. It's like all of a sudden I was this voice for these people and these victims who needed help, and now I am that person to speak truth and to walk this walk just as Brooke walked her adoption walk and be able to look at women and say, this is happening to more people and young people than we realize, and we need to have the emotional and financial support for them that they're not prepared to need to have it all. And so we launched at the end of October, and it's just been one door after the other opening for us, and just we really believe that this is a divine mission, and all we want to do is give back to those people, those three groups that at some stage in their life can't help themselves. And so we obviously do that financially. So those three, we have three partners for those three ministries: orphans, widows, and trafficked women. And so portions of profits go back there. And so when you buy any of our NaSHEville swag attire, that's where it goes. And then kind of the second tier is what was so cool to me about what Brooke wanted to do is, like, I don't just want to sell apparel and give money back. Like, those organizations need the money to serve those people, right? But she said there's a lot of women who aren't necessarily in those positions that I just want to have a voice for. Like, I want to have a platform, I want to have a blog, I want a podcast, which we're going to launch in the first quarter of next year, and just have an online and a social media and a physical presence by way of events that we'll be having each month to bring people together and to have this solidarity and support system of, you know, wherever you are in whatever trial that is, whether it's one of those three or not, like, somebody's been through it, and we don't have any reason to keep trying to handle it ourselves. And so that's a lot where I come in, and because it's so personal to me, like, that's why I love our blog. I want to have a big following on the podcast, and I want to have these big events where we have panels of women saying how they triumphed and how they found beauty out of ashes, and because we all have in some degree.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry to get on that soapbox.
No, there's no soapbox. This is a platform that you guys have both been given, and you're handling it with such grace. I'm so moved. I had no idea those stories and how you guys came together like this. So this isn't just for those three groups of women. You guys are catering and helping all women, whether they're going through something or not. This is just a women's organization.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we just wanted, you know, people say, why an apparel brand? And I'm like, what's more of a conversation starter or a walking billboard than cute clothes? And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to have a way for when a girl was walking down the street and somebody says, NaSHEville, that she could start talking about, you know, just this movement and how we want to just hear people's stories more than anything. And I have such a passion too for women who are starting businesses or nonprofits, whatever they're starting. I really love to help people get that off the ground. So we wanted to be able to have a platform for, you know, Sally that's starting a flower shop, that we can say this is why she started, this is what she overcame to start it. And so really we just want to be a voice for women, no matter what your age is. And we also want to be that group too that says, you know what, we don't think you have to step on men to make women rise. We love our men, they're very important to us. We are honoring her husband Ben through this. And so we just did not want to be political at all. We just wanted to just have a great time with girls and hear their stories.
That's so refreshing.
It is, isn't it? There's really no agenda. That's just what it is. And what's cool about it too, which drew me in, because I am by no means the designer fashion person, but you know, it's not hard to give back with this business. It's not hard to give back through NaSHEville, because all you do is support us, wear the stuff, and it's, you know, there's kind of this old antiquated assumption that, you know, to give back or to serve, you have to give something up, or it's very laboring or time intensive, or you have to, it's just not fun. And this is easy and fun. It's just cute stuff. And you know what? Athleisure is in. And we got t-shirts, hats. I mean, I've just been thrilled because I only have to wash my hair 2 days a week because I have to wear the hats to rep the brand.
You have no choice,
right?
Really.
No, it's an obligation. But it's just a very easy, simple, fun way that we want to connect everybody, you know, for purposes that are very serious and after our own hearts, but also, like, we had a launch party and we had a female chef friend of mine do past apps, and we had champagne, and, you know, we just want to have, you know, even female artists in Nashville come up and share the songs they've written and what's on their heart, and there's a community and a possibility for connectivity, especially in Nashville, that we just want to bring purpose to and not make it hard.
What an amazing world it would be if we all just helped each other, right?
Right. Exactly.
That's like the basis of your company?
Yeah.
Right? Just let's help each other.
Yeah. And kind of what I did in my marketing company is you couldn't have a solid team unless you picked people that were great at things you were bad at. And so I look at people completely differently now with, oh, I'm not great at that, but oh my gosh, she's so great at that. And we work together, and you learn so much through each other that way.
That's genius.
Yeah, so
are you guys an actual nonprofit, or how do you identify?
I guess it's the social enterprise.
Okay.
Is a lot, you know, all those companies that either match, if you buy one pair of shoes, they give another pair
Yes.
of shoes. But a lot of what I loved about the company and her vision is that, you know, in working with nonprofits, but being an actual company, you have a little more ability to dictate where your money goes. And it's just, we want transparency with it and, you know, controlling it in a way that we know exactly who is getting what and where it's going and who we're serving.
Do you have women that are members or just wear the shirts or a mailing list? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, we're very active on social media, and we have a great following there already.
That's how I found you guys.
Yeah, super blessed.
Yes.
People just pour out and want to hear more. We do have a newsletter on the website,
Okay.
so that's where we get a lot of updates as well. But right now we sell all on the web, and then we communicate a lot via newsletter and Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's definitely the best way to follow us, and we're doing pop-up boutiques too, because again, part of this is we didn't want to just open one brick and mortar and people come to us. We wanted to come to people, so we're doing pop-up boutiques at different little boutiques all around town, and you know, kind of we did one at Salon, so we can do them at salons, and it's just a great way for people to meet people in Nashville. And so many people too are like, is it just Nashville? And we don't want to just be Nashville. That's where we're from and that's where we love, and we want this to always be recognized as a first Nashville movement. But we've got a lot of exciting she places that we're expanding to, and we have so many women that have just reached out and said, how can I help? How can I be a part? What can I do? And so I think that's just what's so great and fun about this is everybody wants to be a part, and there's room for everybody to be a part of this.
I love that so much. Anything else I didn't ask you that you want to say?
Pretty much covered it.
Speaking of women who, you said Sally started her flower shop, or why did she start it? The founder of Gigi's Cupcakes is coming in at 9:30.
Really?
Do you know her story?
No.
You know what's really weird? She was just at a
She was.
thing we were at,
That's so
signing
funny.
books, and we didn't
Yeah,
get to
we're
meet
good.
her.
Well, if you stick around, you'll probably get to meet
Yeah.
her.